Welcome. This is Democratic License, a news program that analyzes news stories as a break from the lenses of our reporters and cameramen on location across Nigeria and the rest of the world. The program will give you deeper analysis of our reported stories that affect the social, economic, and political life of the Nigerian public. However, in the next few weeks, we will be focusing on the international and diplomatic perspectives to COVID-19 and how they have impacted on Nigerians and, of course, the life of Nigerians. Welcome to the program. I'm Tunde Alabi. Let's start with global tidbits on COVID-19. Our diplomatic correspondent, Sadat Dosumo, gives us this report.
More than 200 schools in South Korea have been forced to close just days after they reopened due to a new spike in virus cases. Thousands of students had earlier on Wednesday returned to school as the country began easing virus restrictions. But just a day later, 79 new cases were recorded, the highest daily figure in 2 months. Most of these cases have been linked to a distribution center outside Seoul. Aliens staged a protest in Madrid on Friday amid a coronavirus outbreak in Spain. The protesters filled Madrid's Plaza del Sol with shoes to represent all the people who could not attend the demonstration due to the coronavirus lockdown. The chairperson of the African Union, Cyril Ramaphosa, has said the coronavirus pandemic is a major threat to developing countries' efforts to meet their development goals, which include targets on education, health, and eradicating poverty. Addressing a UN meeting on how to handle the pandemic's economic fallout, the South African president repeated a call for debt to be halted for a period of 2 years and for debt relief. Madagascar's president appears to have made a U-turn regarding the much publicized purported coronavirus remedy he said his country had developed. Last month, he officially launched a local herbal tonic which he said could prevent and cure coronavirus. But this was disputed by the World Health Organization because there is no specific proof behind the claim. South Africa's fire-banned opposition politician Julius Malema has urged people not to fall for the trap of going to church, saying they will die after contracting coronavirus. 3 Zimbabwean opposition members charged with holding an illegal demonstration and violating coronavirus lockdown measures have been released on $40 bail. The court hearing on Thursday was conducted in a hospital ward where the 3 were receiving treatment for injuries they said were as a result of torture by state agents. The next court date will be on 13th August, according to their lawyers.
Welcome back from that report. Up next will be in-depth reports, but that will be after this short break, and we want you to stay tuned as we have more stories coming your way. Don't go away. Welcome back to Democratic License, a program where we take you behind the news headlines, create a deeper understanding of issues of interest to you. Our focus today on the international and diplomatic perspectives to COVID-19 will center on what is going on around us. But our conversation will be around how COVID-19 is impacting on the rest of the world. Let's take a few reports to set the stage. In the week just ending, the World Health Organization launched the WHO Foundation, an independent grant-making body set up to support the organization's effort to address the most pressing global health challenges. The WHO Foundation is set to be ready to facilitate contributions to the World Health Organization from traditional sources, and those non-traditional sources will include the general public, individual major donors, and corporate partners. Recall that the U.S. President Donald Trump halted his country's $500 million annual contributions to the World Health Body. In April, Trump had accused Dr. Tedros-led WHO of severely mismanaging and covering up the spread of coronavirus during the early stages. Let's hear what he's got to say.
Today, I'm instructing my administration to halt funding of the World Health Organization while a review is conducted to assess the World Health Organization's role in severely mismanaging and covering up the spread of the coronavirus. Everybody knows what's going on there. American taxpayers provide between $400 million and $500 million per year to the WHO. In contrast, China contributes roughly $40 million a year, and even less. As the organization's leading sponsor, the United States has a duty to insist on full accountability. One of the most
It stands to reason that the establishment of the foundation, whose primary objective is to provide funds to the World Health Organization and trusted implementing partners, is in response to the possible funding gap that will follow the decision of the U.S. President to halt its country's huge amount of money, the biggest donation to the World Health Organization, which is $500 million. And let's get to hear what the WHO Foundation has got to say.
WHO has been one of the few international organizations which has not received donations from the general public. For WHO to fulfill its mission and mandate, there is a clear need to broaden our donor base and to improve both the quantity and quality of funding we receive, meaning more flexible funding. Since February 2018, we have been hard at work supporting the establishment of the WHO Foundation, and today, after hard work of 2 years, more than 2 years, it gives us enormous pleasure to launch it officially.
The Foundation is an independent grant-making organization set up under Swiss law. Its primary mission is to address the most pressing global health challenges of today and tomorrow.
All right, we'll see how COVID-19 is creating a kind of paradigm shift between that health organization. The first time is going to be approaching the public for support. However, China has announced in March that it was going to donate $20 million to the organization just before we had this development. And moving forward to the next story, developing countries are likely to be hard hit by the coronavirus pandemic if there is an uncontrolled spike. Even rich countries around the world have hard time containing COVID-19. What then will happen to developing countries where there is no constant electricity and there's no clean water? And this is very, very scarce. Let's get to know what will happen in this report.
Almost every country on the planet has been affected negatively by the coronavirus. Developing countries are certain to be hit hard by what the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, and other institutions warn will be the worst downturn since the Great Depression of the 1930s. Businesses around the world are changing strategies to help battle the coronavirus, providing ventilators, rubber gloves, and hopefully, too, vaccines.
So what we see it as a very layered approach and a long-term approach to not only just a response to COVID-19, but how do you build preparedness for the next inevitable thing that may come our way.
While the pandemic continues to wreak havoc, large corporations and small businesses are developing creative solutions to halt the spread of the virus, and these initiatives are receiving support from international and donor agencies.
We had already invested in several different innovations to increase the access of medical oxygen in areas of the world where that is not as common as we see in developed countries. And that's exactly the kind of first line treatment that is needed for severe COVID.
In Nigeria, businesses are also trying to re-strategize and harness the benefit from the pandemic. A furniture entrepreneur has partly moved into the production of face masks, which is needed in the fight against COVID-19.
This kind of a thing is being initiated here. We can help FCT and environment in terms of having this face masks. It's not just for making money, it's to assist and give back to the society.
170 nations, rich and poor, are expected to experience a decline in economic activity, and that means falling average in living standards. More Nigerian corporate organizations can, however, reduce the impact and step up efforts to help developing businesses fund and provide more COVID supplies.
All right, welcome back. Americans are expected to vote for a new president on November 3rd. Many people believe that physical distancing should be practiced if a vaccine has been found before then. Also being considered voting by mail and absentee voting as politics crawl into coronavirus. In Nigeria, Nigeria is also going to have election in Ondo and Edo states coming up. How will these countries balance the safety of their citizens with their civic rights? That is what the next report is about.
The coronavirus pandemic and the social distancing protocol seem to be amplifying the calls for voting by mail in the forthcoming presidential election in the United States. But President Donald Trump is totally against voting by mail.
Mail-in ballots are very dangerous. There's tremendous fraud involved and tremendous illegality.
President Trump had lashed out on Michigan and Nevada over applications of absentee ballots the both states sent out to millions of registered voters for the elections.
You got to go and vote. People have to check you. They have to see that it's you. They're supposed to look at you and check you.
The universal experience of vote by mail states and no excuse absentee voting states is that allowing that additional means of voting increases turnout across the board for both Democrats and Republicans by about 8 percentage points.
In Nigeria, the governorship elections will hold in Edo and Ondo states. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has announced guidelines for the conduct of the election, including the social distancing protocol.
INEC has given assurance that they are going to provide the protective equipment for the election to their workers, the corpers, that they are going to provide the kits against the COVID-19, and they will also make sure that everybody, you have your face mask, and also they make sure that they observe the social distance. I doubt if you are not a strong party member or a strong politician or somebody who is educated and believe that my vote can count, we can still make a change, or somebody that has been given money. I doubt how somebody will leave his house, go into the polling booth to go and queue under the sun, do everything and vote. Your vote that we are not sure whether it will count or not.
While the debate over the decision to vote by mail or absentee voting continues in the United States, there are calls for government to expedite action to ensure the amendment of the Electoral Act is given priority to allow for electronic voting that will ensure the safety of voters are not compromised.
All right, welcome back. I've got some guests joining us in the studio to look at what is going to happen ahead of the elections in the United Kingdom and, of course, ahead of the elections here in Nigeria in the midst of COVID-19. Which one is more important, the civic right of the people in America and Nigeria, or their safety, their well-being, and their health? Or I'm joined from Dallas in the United States of America by Ibidapo Ajayi. Ibidapo Ajayi is the president of the movement Pro Pictures LLC in USA. Ibidapo, thank you for joining us on the program today.
Thank you for having me today.
All right, also in our studio live with me is Ijoma Osamo. Ijoma Osamo, you know, she is senior political correspondent, and we'll be looking at both ends, Nigeria and the United Kingdom. But let me start with you first, Ibidapo. What is more important to Americans at this time, the election that is coming on the 3rd of November, or their safety, and what has been put in place to ensure their health is not going to be compromised?
Thank you today. Just a slight correction. My first name is Ibidolapo
Thank
Ajayi.
you.
Well, a lot of people make that mistake, so I allowed this one. Yes, to your question, right now, the global pandemic is affecting every country, more so here in the United States, where we've seen over 100,000 people die from the coronavirus. So it has caused a lot of issues, especially with the economy. And the stay-home order that we've had in the past few weeks has also caused a lot of people anxiety. We've had over 30 million people lose their jobs. So right now, the focus is on the United States, basically getting the economy back to base. So that's what the government of Donald Trump is trying to do, getting people back to work, but doing it in such a safe manner. People are beginning to go out, especially here in Dallas. We're starting to see people move around and practicing social distancing and personal protection, wearing masks. So that right now is the focus. The elections on November 3rd is going to happen for the simple reason that there's no precedent for elections being cancelled or postponed in the history of the United States. So we expect that to happen. Now, the mode of that is what has to be resolved.
All right, let me put you on hold. The mode of that, I do understand, as we saw in that report, they are considering absentee voting, they are considering postal balloting. But we'll come to you on that. Let's turn to our diplomatic correspondent, EJ. You've done a lot of work on politics in Nigeria. What are your views in this election that is coming up? Okay.
Yes, there will be elections in 2 states in Nigeria. That's the Edo State and also Ondo State in September and October, just very close to almost the same November period that the US will be having their elections. But the funny part is that the electoral umpire, what they have decided to do is to issue or release a policy document that will help them conduct election in a period like this. Nobody thought that there would be pandemic at this time, so they didn't prepare. But just on Monday,
are they prepared now?
Let me just hold on. On Monday, they released the document, and I've gone through that document. And what I saw in that document is that all the steps they said they would take were copied from the National Center for Disease Control guidelines, as well as the WHO guidelines for social distancing.
Right.
Those are the things they said they would do. All the things they want to use in the election, from the card readers down to even the balloting, they will still do that. The only difference is that you as a voter cannot go to a voting point without properly kitted with your face masks, with your hand sanitizer, washing of hands, and the numbers of those that will be in that voting point will not be the same with the kind of crowd we used to experience in Nigeria.
Is that what the policy document reflects?
what the policy
Are we
document
sure that INEC, considering our experience in Nigeria, what we have on paper has some level of difficulties translating what is going to happen? Are we sure that INEC will be able to pull this through to reality?
That's the problem. The challenge in Nigeria is we keep coming out with different policies, but when it is time for these policies to be implemented, we have issues. But for INEC, they have told Nigerians that they are still meeting with the political parties, with the media. They will also meet with the civil society organizations, those who observe elections. They do that because there are legal issues. When you don't conduct this election, there will be legal issues because we have our constitution.
But then if we conduct this election without proper adhering to the required protocols, then we will be exposing people to what they should not be.
The people may be the challenge.
Yeah.
INEC National Commissioner that I spoke with a few days ago told me that the commission is prepared to do election in the pandemic.
Okay, let me put you on hold. Let me go back to the US. Let me go back to the Ibidolapo. Ibidolapo, are you still there? We do understand that the US government and its umpire are playing with a couple of things, absentee voting, postal balloting, but President Donald Trump is not really comfortable with these two ideas being proposed. He said, if I may quote him, that they will be in favor of the Democratic Party candidate, but reporters said that is not true. What are your views? How do you think this will end? In 1 second, quickly.
Right. The Constitution allows for people to vote. Essentially, each state determines the issues around mail-in ballots. And the challenge the president is having is because the history of the Democratic Party and their voters is that they tend to be a little bit lethargic on election day. So he's hoping perhaps that if they deny the opportunity to have states allow the voters to use absentee ballots or mail-in ballots, that potentially gives the Democrats a little bit more of an advantage because they can be at home and still send in their vote. So that is really what the issue is about. But I think if he fights this, it's going to go to the courts and probably will end up at the Supreme Court at some point.
Really? Yeah? Going to the court before even the start of the election at all?
Yes, because over here, states actually run elections. So we don't have like an INEC that we do in Nigeria here in the United States. So elections, even though you have the popular vote, the elections and who becomes president and the vice president is determined by the Electoral College. So, and that is something that the Constitution allows the state to determine who the electors will be.
So we're looking at a situation where the state will determine how they want these elections to be conducted, either for people to go out, a postal ballot or absentee ballot. That will be at the discretion of the state.
Of the state, absolutely. The governor will have to make that
but then
decision.
We see the president not being happy with this idea.
He's not happy, but what is strange about the whole thing is he actually voted in a primary election in Florida by mail-in ballot. So it's a little bit ironic that he will be fighting a process that he himself...
That brought him probably.
Yeah.
All right, I'm coming to you, Ibidolapo. So we have a system in the US where the states actually determine how they want their elections to go in the best interest of their people. We have a situation in Nigeria where one body determines what is going to happen. How do we marry this together? The interest of the people in Edo State, in Ondo State, the health of the people, and their civic rights.
All right. Nigeria, in the case of election, Nigeria is not the same with the U.S. They do electoral college. We do the open ballot system. We do not have laws backing mailing vote, what they call it.
Yeah.
We don't have such laws yet. But we are still hoping that the National Assembly needs to take a look at this so that in the next future, if we have other elections, they will now say, okay, because of COVID-19 or the pandemic, what we need to do now is to go full-blown e-voting. If we have that e-voting, we do not have problem in Nigeria.
All right, Ijoma, thank you so much. That was Ijoma Osamo, our senior political correspondent. Thank you for throwing some light into this issue. We do hope the National Assembly will be able to help Nigeria considering what is happening in this present time. Ibidolapo, thank you for joining us. Ibidolapo Ajayi is the president of the movement Pro Pictures LLC in Dallas, USA. He's a filmmaker, so political commentator. Ibidolapo, thank you for joining us on the program. I'm sure I woke you up today, but thanks so much. You are very well appreciated.
Thank you.
All
Thanks
right.
for having me.
This is how far we can go on Democratic License. Today, my name is Tunde Alabi. I will be coming your way again next Friday. If you're in London, United Kingdom, you can watch this program on your Sky channel, Sky 458. If you are anywhere in Europe, you can watch via Eurobird and Heritage TV. They are our partners. Thank you so much. We'll see you again.